Well, it looks like it's time for Scarlett to play some StarCraft 2 here at the DreamHack Zowie Open. Everybody's been waiting for it outside, and we just had a thrilling game between Pult and Petite Drogo, so we're all looking forward to this next one. Welcome back, everybody. It is time for the final game of the evening. Thank you to our sponsors, Zowie, Razer, G2A, Monster Energy, and of course, Alienware. Do remember when you tweet, because I know you definitely were during that last series, and I'm sure you will during this next one, to include the hashtag DHOpen and WCS. Joining me on the panel to talk about the upcoming game, well, first of all, talk a little bit about the match that we just saw. A 5-map series between Petite Drogo and Pult, and from what we saw backstage, a devastated Drogo and a very happy Pult going through.
It was incredible, man. It was such a nail biter through and through. Each of the games, there were so many great engages. There were moments where you saw each player overextend, and then the game would come back, and then there was a recovery. It was absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, that was definitely one of the most exciting series of the tournament thus far. But this tournament has had a lot of exciting series, and it's not done yet.
No, it's not. Kev, a pretty awesome series, like really, really was.
Yeah, I loved it, man. A rough start for Pult, but once again, in classic Pult fashion, he just brought it back. And I felt like in Game 3, maybe Game 4, it was a little bit because Drogo wasn't necessarily making all the right choices, but Game 5 was just a phenomenal game of StarCraft, where Drogo did make a lot of correct choices, but Pult is just extremely good in dealing with Tempest, and that's not really something we ever say, because normally when Protoss reaches that phase in the game, it's like, he did really well. It's like, yeah, because Terran can't do anything. You know? But Pult actually just did phenomenal.
It always feels when you're watching Pult at this level of tournament, it takes him a couple of maps to really warm up to where he plays. Absolutely insane. And we saw that there as well.
Classic Pult.
He figured it out by like those range liberators. If I could just say, like in the back room, we were all like, "What? What is this?" It's just like red circles pushing forward.
The circles just chase him through the map until he's at the corner, and then the circles eat his whole army.
By the end of Game 5, Petite Drogo's army was in Game 6 trying to get away.
Let's take a quick look at the bracket as we can see where we are so far in the tournament. Hero Marine versus True will be the first game played tomorrow as we enter the semi-finals. Right now, though, we need to find an opponent for Pult, and it's either going to be Scarlett or Neeb, and that's going to be our upcoming game. Here you can see some of the results, or most of the results, if not all, actually all of the results that we saw today. And then Scarlett versus Neeb, obviously the next game coming to your screen just moments away from happening. We'll be going to Smix on the stage to introduce the players in a couple of moments' time. But before that, Scarlett versus Neeb. A lot of people thought that we'd be seeing Nurcho versus Neeb, but Scarlett has eliminated Nurcho. Scarlett will take the shot at Neeb for herself. Can she do it, though?
I gotta say, taking out Nurcho changes everything, right? We really have to reevaluate the Scarlett of today. So this is, I think anything could happen, but I think we got to be ready to see Scarlett really dominate.
I think there's a lot of people that would say that Nurcho probably had the better shot against Neeb, because we know how good Neeb is, and he really is dominating, especially in this matchup. But even though Scarlett might not be as strong one-on-one as Nurcho is, she's different. She's going to be playing very, very different to what Neeb's been playing against recently, Kevin.
Yeah, I mean, Scarlett has looked really good as well, especially in the round of 32 match against Puck, and she didn't even reveal all that much. If you think back of that series, you know, the first game, she just showed that she knows how to deal with the depths. I mean, that's very useful in this matchup. Second game, it was a very short one, just Zerglings, if I recall correctly, on Galactic, and the last game, there was a proxy hatchery. So I think it is very important if you want to defeat Neeb in ZvP, you gotta make it a little bit crazy. You gotta do some wild stuff. You gotta try to catch him off guard, because if you just sit back and you make roaches, lurkers, and hydras, you're not going to beat Neeb. Like, Neeb's too good with disruptors. He's too good in getting there. He's almost never behind. So it needs to get crazy. And I think if it gets crazy, I think Scarlett can win.
Well, let's hope so. Well, from what I've heard, Canada, it's time to bring out the players to the stage. So let's make some noise one last time for this one. Smix, let's do this.
Thank you very much, Apollo. Guys, I know you guys have been absolutely amazing, but this match is the one I'm sure you have been waiting for, as we do have the last hope in America going up against the last remaining Canadian player as well. Please give it up for Neeb and Scarlett! Neeb, I'll speak with you first. First of all, every time, I've already mentioned this, Scarlett has always praised you a lot, which means a lot because she doesn't do that easily, but she's praised you for being a very, very amazing player. That being said, I know that you guys are close friends, but you must beat her if you want to make it to the semifinals. So what do you have to say to her prior to this match?
I think we both know how the other one plays, so I think it'll be fun. Like, I can't really say anything about how the match will go, but yeah.
All right, then. Seems like there will be some mind games involved since you guys do talk and practice together, but Scarlett, goes without being said, all of these fans are so excited to see you have made it this far. I'm sure they would love to see you make it even further, but the opponent that you always talk about so highly is in front of you, so what do you have to say back to Neeb?
Well, I think he said he gets nervous when people hype him up too much. So maybe since I talk about him so much like that, he'll get a little nervous against me.
Well, let's get this underway. Please shake hands. It is time for our last quarterfinal match of the day. I cannot wait to see who will be joining Polt in the semifinal match. Apollo, back to you.
Thank you very much, Smix. An exciting game, no doubt, we're about to see. And let's jump right into it. Artosis, what are your initial thoughts when looking at Scarlett versus Neeb?
I don't even know. Like, this is such a tough one, right? Because I would say, like, probably in their practice games, Neeb wins more, but Scarlett has more experience on the stage. We have seen at the end of tournaments, Neeb can fall apart just a little bit. So I don't know, Paul. That's an unfair question.
I'm sorry. Let me make it easier. This is going to be a really one-sided victory for Scarlett. Do you agree?
No?
Just say yes. Just say yes. Kev?
That's what the audience want to hear. Obviously, they're like, yeah, come on, Tosis, say it. Tosis like, No, it's not going to be one-sided. There's no way that this is going to be a one-sided series, one way or the other.
What are you thinking, Tasteless?
I think I'll give the answer that you want as like some kind of a prediction here. So I think Scarlett will take this, but it'll be very close. I think it's going to be 3-2.
Yeah?
That's what I'm thinking.
So no matter what here, it's going to be a close series, either way?
It does seem that way, right? Like, you can't imagine with the way Scarlett's been playing that she is going to be destroyed, and Neeb is the scariest Protoss outside of Korea, and some say he is as good. In fact, Scarlett says he is as good as any Protoss in the world at Protoss vs. Zerg.
Do you think that Neeb's going to get a little nervous on stage? I mean, it's kind of creeped in previous tournaments, but obviously the roar of every single move that Scarlett does is going to be heard.
I mean, he played good against Utermo early today, so he does have a little bit of experience on this stage, and I think it may actually help that he goes up against Scarlett, the player that he knows so well. I think what's going to be very important, I don't know when we're going to see Frozen Temple, obviously we see the maps soon, but I think the last 10 games in a row, I know exactly what Neeb does in Frozen Temple. He always does the fast expand, one gate, 2 adepts, Twilight Council, 2 more gateways, and he does so much damage with those first 7-8 adepts. Like, he gets so far ahead. It's going to be really interesting to see if Scarlett can deal with it, and if she can deal with it, then we've got a really good series on our hands. But if with those very first 7, 8, or 9 adepts, Neeb is able to create the advantage that he always creates for himself, then it's going to be a very rough series.
Okay, after hearing Rotterdam talk there, I've decided I think Scarlett is going to win this 3-2. Like, because I think he is going to go for these adept-type plays, and we saw her blocking them perfectly against Puck, and it's really, I feel like the onus is on Neeb to get that damage done with the adepts, because if you don't, Scarlett is going to be way ahead of you, and I don't think that she's going to falter in front of this Canadian crowd.
The only thing is that Neeb is so good in like keeping them alive. It's not even necessarily about always dealing damage, but even if he just forces out the right amount of units, that's what makes him so special, right, in this matchup. He knows when he doesn't have to fight anymore because he's like, okay, cool, I'm actually creating an economic advantage for myself.
All right, well, moments away from what I've just been told from starting. Get close to the final predictions in a minute.
You saw Dasan Station being vetoed. Neeb obviously doesn't want to deal with any sort of proxy hatcheries on that map.
So, Artosis.
Yes.
Final words here before we jump into the final series of the evening.
This is going to be awesome. Like, we've had so many good matches today. Scarlett has been completely on fire. She's in front of the Canadian crowd. You guys have been so great already all weekend.
Yeah.
It's going to be more of the same.
All right, Tasteless, final words.
Look, like I said, I think Scarlett takes it, but no matter who moves on, it's awesome. Both these players great, both very exciting, both from the North America region. So I'm pumped, guys. This is going to be great.
Kevin?
Just excited as a fan of StarCraft, man. I'm going to watch it in the audience. I do think that maybe Scarlett can do it just because of home crowd, momentum, and a little bit of everything. But Neeb is so incredibly good in PvZ that it will be very, very tough.
All right, thank you very much, gentlemen. It's time to get ready. It's time to get excited. We're going over to the casters. To my left, it's going to be Taste Toasters to bring you the final best of 5 of the evening.
All right, we are going into the last, and I think potentially the best match of the night. So let's start this out with game 1. In the upper left, in the red, give it up for Scarlett! And on the opposite side of the map, down here in the bottom right, in the blue, make some noise for Neeb!
You know, Tasteless, I think we should mention what is on the line here.
Please, let's talk about that.
Of
Go
course,
ahead.
BlizzCon coming up. Neeb is already really high up on points, in good shape. Nice little pile and block, by the way. But Scarlett, I think she needs to win the tournament to get to BlizzCon. So that's definitely a big deal. And let's not forget, the winner of this is in the top 4. They get to play on the final day, and they win at least $10,000. And put that in perspective, audience here, that's like 5,000 toonies.
We got the hatchery coming down here now. Obviously, it was moved away there by the natural there with the pylon. Neeb is going for the Nexus and the gate. I think it's going to be great. We're playing this on a classic StarCraft 2 map. It's been a lot of fun to see how this develops in Legacy of the Void. These two players have both been in Korea for some time. Scarlett certainly longer than Neeb, but both really pursuing the absolute best training environment. In order to, obviously going to Korea, but then using that for a tournament like this where they can come down and maybe have an edge on the playing field. But now here they are. One of them has to eliminate the other.
Yeah, I mean, so far, they're killing everybody, and that Korean practice regimen definitely helping them out. Also, very good friends who play together a lot and talk a lot about strategy. So probably going to be a lot of mind games here that we have to uncover as we move forward.
As the game continues forward here, the Lings are going to go ahead and take out the pylon here, and we may see the third base coming up. Here it is right now. Neeb, of course, he's been pretty aggressive with his adepts in the past. He's definitely one of these players who does not misuse the adepts. We've had plenty of players who are very good, but sometimes they overextend with them, or they panic, they send them in the wrong direction. Neeb is not only very good at taking out your workers and doing a lot of damage, Neeb is very good at making sure that those adepts get away. He doesn't always need to trade for them.
And if he does trade them, then you know that a lot of damage was dealt by those adepts. So that's something that Scarlett is going to have to counter just perfectly here from Neeb, who, by the way, is already going into a Twilight Council. So it looks very likely we're going to see those glaives upgrades.
So the first adept now coming out here to try to put some pressure on. Notice Neeb actually going down there to check and see if he can't zone out any potential things that would be there. Does not continue to shade forward. Instead, keeps that adept back. The Overlord now comes in to see the glaives. And, of course, that's exactly what Scarlett is looking for, is what that identifying tech is. So Scarlett, as the Zerg player, can respond accordingly.
You know, what we saw her do against Puck was get some roaches out to go with those speedlings and just make sure that the adepts can't get any damage done. Will she be able to do that this game? Will she take that approach this game? The thing is, that's probably something she's practiced with Neeb. So, again, the mind games, that's something we really want to keep our mind open for.
Yeah, it's definitely, when you get two players that are playing and practicing against each other, and of course discussing the way they're viewing the meta, the way they're viewing strategies, it's very important that you have another kind of style of play that you can bring out to try to throw that player off.
Look at this. So the Ling's coming up and actually picking off that first adept. Neeb tried to shade it away through that Stalker. Didn't quite get there in time, but nice moves by both sides. And that Glaives upgrade as well as Warp Gate are about to finish for Neeb.
So these may be the last few drones we're going to see here as the Roach Warren is near completion, but Artie We got a Dark Shrine coming up here as well. Now, this may not be the standard play here for Neeb in every game, but it might be pretty handy here against a player like Scarlett, who may already be used to what it seems like she's seen Neeb do here now.
Yeah, we've definitely seen, we saw Wellmu earlier tonight try this type of play against True. Will this work out against Scarlett? Not so sure, but Scarlett right now doesn't have a lair, no lair on the way, and that Dark Shrine is about halfway done.
Now, the Adepts are moving out. Now, this is a masking technique, right? Of course, the Adepts are already going to be a threat in of themselves, but it's only masking what we're going to see as the next follow-up attack here with the DTs. The Zerg, rather, may end up overcompensating for these Adepts, and then the DTs can come in here and do the real damage.
Well, the Adepts shaded all the way forward here. The Roaches starting to get a few hits on, but that shade will be back up. They shade right through the Roaches now. Scarlett's going to have to stay on top of that, but that Dark Shrine is almost done and still no detection.
Not a single Adept taken out. Even the weaker one over here in the front. The Adepts now coming in, beginning to get closer to that hatchery, but they're going to shade now. Southbound, no, actually back up to the third base as they continue to do the damage. 3 Dark Templars are warping in now.
But these Adepts not finding any damage yet. Perfect defense from Scarlett on that front, and every single one of them will go down. Awesomely done by Scarlett.
Now it's time for the DTs to do the damage. I think Neeb knew it might not be that effective, but we're already seeing Spore Crawlers come up here. Sometimes you use these DTs to just try to target down a hatchery. Other times, if you deem it necessary to play in a different way, you can use those DTs to split up and go for other drones.
Well, they're splitting up right now, walking towards that Spore, so they are being seen, but how many kills can they get? With 3 DTs all over the place, you can get a lot of damage done.
And he's now going over here and hitting these drones. It looks like the first DT is going to go down. The other DTs have been exposed, but in the upper left side of the map, this DT is still running around doing damage as the Spore is attempting to complete.
That DT is, in fact, doing quite a bit of damage, taking out the Queen. Already 10 drones going down. Scarlett's little attack has already come back to try to deal with these as well, but Neeb is getting the types of damage done that he needs.
That's right. And, of course, also Scarlett realizing the DT tech happened. There's always a bit of a hiccup in the tech there for Protoss whenever you try to go for that. So Scarlett identifies that and then goes for a hatchery here in the top center, taking a 4th base. And I don't think Neeb can attack right away after this. You know, the Archon can be a bit of a threat, but I believe Neeb will probably stay back.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. Like, we do have a Warp Prism coming out, so there can be harassment, but Neeb isn't ready for a full-on attack, so this 4th base does seem like a really smart idea. Considering how many units Scarlett has, it should help her to recover that economy very quickly.
Blink now on the way. Whenever you do a tech like this, the rest of the tech for Protoss does come a little bit later. Scarlett having a lot more wiggle room right now is going to get that Baneling's Nest, of course, the Spire halfway done, and as you were saying, Artosis, that Warp Prism is going to come out. Now, there's also a DT on the map here. Neeb is going to try to hit in 2 different locations at once. Let's see if either the DT or the Warp Prism can manage to do that.
All right, the DT going to be hunted down immediately here with that Speed Overseer. Some Adepts dropped into the natural. The Queen trying to push back that Warp Prism. A few drones going down, but Neeb will have to pull back for now.
So the Warp Prism does relocate here. Obviously, Neeb aware that he's in a bit of a dilemma right now as the Zerg is going to secure that 4th base. And of course, the 5th could be acquired a little bit later on here. But I think we will probably see some pressure coming here from the Protoss before the Zerg decides it's time to initiate.
Well, with Blink and +1 just about to finish, that's going to be a great time to attack. 7 Mutalisks on the way. We should have a stronger heads-on army from Neeb, but Scarlett is far more mobile with this type of army.
There's also, of course, the option to try to counterattack with these mutas, but I think the sheer muscle behind this army here from Neeb is definitely going to make Scarlett have to respect that and probably stay back.
Some Ravagers being made right now. That Blink is just finishing as the 4th base goes up. Neeb pushing forward. Has that Warp Prism still warping in a lot of units to go with this attack. That is a scary army, Tasteless.
It is. And also, Neeb expanding behind this. But Scarlett, let's see if she can actually hold this base over here. The Stalkers do. Blink into position. The Ravagers move forward. The artillery has been fired there. The Corrosive Bile, but the hatch is too low. I don't know if Scarlett can save this.
It doesn't look like it. The hatchery does go down. Neeb with a very strong attack, but the Mutalisk going on the counter offensive, killing off a few probes there before Neeb forces him back. Neeb continuing to push forward. Some great force fields go down, and he is tearing apart Scarlett's army.
I gotta say, Neeb winning on two fronts there. If Neeb wants to, Neeb can either press forward or go back here and try to save this base, but I think both are going to turn out to be quite nice here for Neeb, and Neeb decides it's time to move in. Dodging the corrosive biles, the Stalkers jump in. Looks like most of the Ravagers do escape, and it seems like Neeb, okay, now going to go up to the top here, where the army might have a harder time for Scarlett, trying to get a proper engage. If Neeb can get this base, I don't know if Scarlett can win.
Yeah, I don't think she'll be able to, but that banding speed is about to finish. She's going to have to try to bust through this army. Those Archons spread just brilliantly. Here she goes, going forward with those Banelings. A lot of them going down on the Archons, and this is looking dirty.
I just don't see any way that Scarlett can win. The blink forward is now taking out too many of her units. The hatchery is under fire. The drones have been pulled. I think this game may nearly be finished here for Scarlett.
Very tough indeed. Scarlett takes down Neeb's 4th base, but he does not care about that. He's still got 3 functioning bases right now. He's killed off 2 of Scarlett's and continuing to push forward against very few units.
Here comes Neeb right now. Scarlett attempting to get this around, moving the Warp Prism. Now more mutas are being taken out, and at the last second the Warp Prism goes down. I don't think it's enough. At this point in time, that's going to be it. GG! Neeb takes game number 1.
Wow, just fantastic play out of Neeb. This makes me a little bit scared for Scarlett, Tasteless, because she blocked the Adepts perfectly. The DTs did get some damage done, though.
Okay, so I thought that Scarlett would be in better shape after holding off the Adepts, but the DTs did do a little bit of damage, but I gotta point out, okay, so when Neeb pushes, when he actually comes forward, you really see that he just sets up like this position that you're not gonna break. A lot of Protosses will run in and their units start to spread around. This guy goes in, hold positions, just does some damage to the hatchery. Then he in a calculated manner pushes forward. We also saw at the second base that Scarlett was losing back there, he had the Archons in perfect position. The Banelings were just not gonna do enough damage.
He just spread those Archons out, and when the Banelings roll in, I mean, if they're hitting an Archon, it takes something like 17 Banelings to kill it. It's just crazy.
It's a comical amount of Baneling hits that you need. And this is what we're seeing right here now. Notice the Archon placement. See, everything's in the back. Look at even where the Warp Prism is. Look at how safe this is.
That's not going to hit by any corrosive vials, warping more of those Blink Stalkers. And I mean, between the Immortals and Archons eating all of that damage while the Stalkers deal it out from behind with a couple Immortals, Scarlett had no chance there.
Yeah. It was just very perfect play. And of course, Neeb, we had an expansion being taken down there that Scarlett was taking out during this, but even taking that expansion there causes another problem for Scarlett, because not only can this wall not be broken, but unless Scarlett sends everything to try to kill that attack and the Remutas hitting that Nexus, there's no way that Nexus is going to die. Anyways, we're going now into game number 2. Let's make some noise for our player in the red. She is Scarlett! And her opponent up 1 game in the bottom right, in the blue from the United States of America, he is Neeb!
Neeb with a little smile on his face, as he should have. This is Frozen Temple, and Rotterdam sure thinks he knows what Neeb is going to do here.
Well, I think we know, at least with his probe here, he's going to try to block potentially that expansion over there, but already Scarlett now rotating a hatchery over here. Neeb, you don't always have to do this as Protoss, but it doesn't really hurt to try at the start. You can definitely dictate a lot of the movement and patterns that Zerg have to follow.
Certainly can. It's a very useful move. A lot of pro gamers prefer to do it, but Scarlett, she's keen to this, has that hatchery at the 3rd base, and she's not really being slowed down that much, but it's worth Neeb's time, as you say.
Again, if you look at that last game, it just seemed to me like Neeb didn't really have a moment of weakness. It seemed like he was very comfortable in the timings, which is interesting. A lot of timings from Protoss, whether it's here in Montreal, or if we're casting an event in Europe, or even in the GSL Codas, a lot of times it seems like the Protoss is at great risk.
Yeah.
Especially in DT tech, right? I mean, this is sort of a fundamental concept in StarCraft 2. Through most of the iterations of the different StarCraft games, that tech, if it doesn't do amazingly, can be problematic. But Neeb seemed to make it look easy peasy.
He did. He really did make the DTs look super easy. Like, 3 of them walk in, there's 2 spores, he still gets a queen and 10 drones and forces the army back. Like, that is significant damage right there. And, if Scarlett had been able to stop those DTs dead in their tracks, she definitely would have had a big advantage, but it's just not the case. Neeb was just so fluid with his play.
It was really quite a beautiful thing to see there. This time around, I'm curious to see if we're going to have a different approach from Scarlett, something more tailored around whether it be timing attacks or simply trying to preempt exactly what Neeb's going to do. I can definitely see why Scarlett was saying that she really has a lot of respect for Neeb, because you look at that, and Neeb looked pretty damn tough to take on.
Yeah. Certainly the case, but she blocked the Adepts very well. That's what I'm looking for again in this game. Will Neeb go for a bunch of Adepts, go for that third base like Rotterdam was talking about? It is kind of his standard, and I feel like she can block that.
Okay, the Adept going to peek in here, do some damage to that Larva now, come inside to the main. Already doing some damage to these drones. It looks like, oh, no, good save there by Scarlett. No drone pickoffs just yet.
Gonna shade out is Neeb. Not gonna lose that Adept quite yet here. In the meantime, he is making his third Nexus at home, getting a Sentry as well. And a little bit of a mistake there.
Bit of a flub there by Neeb. Just didn't even have the Adept moving. So, these small errors can add up to a lot, and also can be big tells to the current psychological state of that player. You lose your first few units right at the start. That's not what you want in a game you've been practicing for days, months, years.
Yeah.
In a moment where it all boils down to this.
No, certainly. And even one unit early on in the game, especially for Protoss, can mean a world of difference. So we'll see if that actually affects Neeb going forward. But so far, so good for him. He is actually going into a Robo right away here.
Okay, so we have the Robo tech here, as well as a steady third base down here. Let's see if Scarlett finds any opportunities to try to come in here and do any kind of timing, or perhaps Scarlett wants to go to the late game against Neeb and try to outmuscle him there.
Yeah, she is fantastic at macro, but I think Neeb is kind of a complete player. So no matter where she brings it, it should still be a very tough game, but Scarlett going to take that fourth base, feeling like there's no way for Neeb to really damage her at this point.
So we may have a slow and steady game here. Both these two really showing a lot of respect for each other. Scarlett continuing to tech up now, acquiring more gases, getting the +1 melee attack over here for Neeb. We see that Immortals are coming out. We have additional gateways finishing up, as well as the Hallucination Scout coming out onto the map to try to take a peek and see what exactly is Scarlett up to.
It's a very good scouting technique, and the thing is, even if it shows what Scarlett's up to, she will hide tech. Like, for instance, last game she made a Roach Warren and then went into Spire once the scout went away. So this isn't necessarily telling her exactly, or telling Neeb exactly what she's going to do. But still, he needs to try to figure it out, because if he gets caught off guard by something like Mutas, that can end the game.
Absolutely. Here comes Neeb now, pushing out. Of course, there is always the chance to escape back home with that Mothership Core, but this is always a great way to play in this state of the game here, is for Neeb to try to just force drone production to halt, to try to take out, maybe, for instance, here we see Overlords, Queens, Creep Tumors, anything else to try to delay the power-hungry Scarlett, who is trying to just tech up and mass up as much as Zergly possible.
All right, here Neeb goes, pushing up forward. 3 Queens here. A Force Field goes down, trapping them. Some Force Fields as well to block out those drones coming in from the side, and already picking off a few units here.
That Mothership Core getting low!
Oh, that means that actually Neeb cannot get away from this so easily without that Mothership Core for recall. So Neeb starts to back up a little bit, still dealing as much damage as is possible. And Neeb really didn't lose that much. Killed 9 drones, some Queens. That was a good attack.
And that's tricky, too, because when you're Protoss, you want to do as much damage as possible, but you have to respect the fact that the Immortal is not a fast unit. And usually when you lose the Immortal, then the rest of the stuff popping out of the hatcheries from the larva is going to kill your army. So the fact that Neeb got away there despite losing the Mothership Core is a pretty impressive feat. keeping most of the significant tech units alive back there while still doing a good amount of damage to Scarlett.
That's right, and now Neeb is adding a bunch of gateways, getting Blink, getting +1. So when that Blink and +1 is finishing up, that's when we're going to see Neeb really hit hard. But Scarlett is about to have the Baneling Nest, about to have the Spire. Will she have enough to hold off the attack this time?
Well, that's going to be the big question. Again, I think we got to keep our eyes peeled for how Neeb chooses to engage, because he's really good at setting up this jigsaw puzzle that Scarlett just can't quite disarm. The placement of his army is so critical. Even now he's moving out here with these Stalkers. You see the Immortal in the very center, a few Stalkers in the back, as well as those sentries in a nice space. The way he moves, it's like this giant fortress. It's like when you watch in 300 when Xerxes' army was moving around and all those guys were unfolding. He does a great job of moving out here on the map, and we're about to see another engage here. Let's see how this goes. Once again, the Warp Prism in a really good position, Artosis.
That's right, he's not going to be losing that. A ton of Stalkers now added into this army. Blink and +1 are just about done here. And as those finish, this army's going to be very tough to kill. Scarlett with a lot of Ravagers over on the side and using some preemptive force fields here to kill that hatchery, but the Lings are running in for Scarlett.
And now come the Corrosive Biles. Not a lot of wiggle room here. The Immortal taking some damage. A good surround. Great micro here, though, by Neeb with the Warp Prism. Additional Corrosive Biles continuing to rain down here on Neeb.
A bunch of Stalkers coming in. All the tech units actually gone now, but does Scarlett have enough to finish off the Blink Stalkers? It doesn't look like it. She is running back. More Zerglings about to pop out to help out as well.
I can't believe that Warp Prism wasn't hit. Neeb had to be spamming so hard to actually move that away. And this means the rush can continue. Neeb cleans that up. Does he go forward? Does he go back? I don't know. Neeb knows best.
Neeb knows
best. Hashtag Neeb knows best right now. These are the best Protoss attacks I've seen in a long time, Artosis.
Well, a bunch of Blink Stalkers walking up this ramp towards the third base now, and that third base is in trouble. Ling Ravager coming down, trying to surround, trying to connect with these Corrosive Biles, and once again that Prism runs away.
It still doesn't die. Will it go down this time? Yes, finally. However, there may be too many Stalkers as Neeb continues to press forward.
Oh, and that's it. GG! Neeb takes game number 2. Oh man, he is so strong, Tasteless.
I mean, this guy is just terrifying. I don't feel like, in theory, a lot of what Scarlett is doing is necessarily wrong. Maybe she is making a few too many drones. Maybe she isn't predicting where Neeb attacks. But when you look at Neeb moving in there, it's insane.
Yeah.
It's like his attack. It looks like drunken boxing, Artosis.
Where is the hole in that game?
I don't know.
Where's the place where Scarlett can win in that game?
Did you see the Warp Prism? It's like moving out away from those Corrosive Biles. He just can't get touched.
It's so wild because that game was so much like game 1. In game 1, Neeb goes for Dark Templars, gets in there, kills about 10 drones. Does his Blink Stalker timing attack afterwards. This game, Neeb was like, well, I don't have Dark Templars, but I guess I'll just move out with like some sentries and adepts and an Immortal and Mothership Core. Gets 9 drones, gets a couple queens, kills a bunch of units, and then just does the timing attack and kills her again.
The thing about Neeb is that it's the engages are perfect. Even that one where he lost the Mothership Core, he's okay. He did not overextend. He even did a few shots of additional damage and then said, okay, I know this exactly, backed up, and kept the army. I mean, it's perfect.
I hesitate to use the word perfect, but I'm not really seeing a whole lot of flaws in Neeb's play. I like to find the flaws to see where Scarlett can improve, but this is like really scary stuff.
So let's watch this, okay? You see that he continues to move the Warp Prism back.
Yeah.
He's got a good angle. The force fields are actually quite good here as well.
Look at the Corrosive Biles. They're hitting all the tech units that don't blink. Because the Blink Stalkers will just blink out of the way. So she takes out the Immortals, she takes out the Sentries very quickly, but then there's not enough.
And watch the Warp Prism. Gets away like that. That happens again a second time. That's the sound the Warp Prism made when it was moving away.
And
like that.
Look at that. And he gets to kill off the hatchery, which he'd already dealt a bunch of damage to. Just remarkably good Protoss for Zerg.
I do now see why Scarlett shows so much respect for Neeb. But guys, it's not over yet. This is game number 3. In the upper right, in the red, from Canada, make some noise for Scarlett! Her opponent here in the bottom left. In the blue from the United States of America, give it up for Neeb!
Well, I'm really hoping that Scarlett takes this one. They are cross spawns on Frost. That's a really big map, and that's as far away as you can get on the map. So those could be some things that definitely help out Scarlett. Give her a little bit more time to prepare for any timing attacks that Neeb does, but who knows if Neeb even goes for the same type of strategy here.
Well, I'll tell you, we've spent a lot of time, I'm already getting hoarse from the series. We're spending a lot of time talking throughout this DreamHack about how Neeb seemed nervous.
Yeah.
I don't care about how Neeb seems anymore after seeing the way that looks in game. If I was Neeb, I would be burning with confidence.
He should be.
Right?
He definitely should be, but let's not forget, he doesn't have a big championship yet, right? That's a place where a lot of pro gamers find their confidence overall, and he hasn't been able to do that quite yet here.
Let's see what game plan Scarlett goes for here. This is a map where they're in cross spots. Now, at least for the early to early mid game, a lot of Zergs tend to like that. They can expand a little bit more comfortably. There's a few more seconds added to the travel distance and everything like that. So there's definitely a benefit with that. But of course, there's also a lot of different ways to play Protoss. And these two players, they're very good friends. They're both staying in South Korea right now in Seoul. They talk about the game. They talk about the meta. They talk about mindsets and tournaments. They know each other inside out. So the games we're seeing so far seem to be indicative of the way at least Neeb seems to be inside the head of Scarlett.
Yeah, like Neeb is understanding absolutely everything going on. I want to see Scarlett mix it up a little bit, and I don't know if it's aggression that you really want to go for, because it seems like Neeb always has enough.
Right.
But I mean, maybe a little bit more greed early on, maybe a different type of tech route that she can find.
I mean, here's the thing, man, and this is what's so crazy about this. For how good Neeb looked in those last games, Scarlett now has to defeat Neeb in 3 consecutive games in a row. No rooms for mistakes, no rooms for error.
No, this is a really tough one indeed.
It's a tough one, man.
Neeb is just, he's going to work so fast in these games. Look at this, the Twilight coming down once again. Definitely could be for Glaives, could be one of these heavy adept type attacks. And with that Stalker coming out, it's going to be hard for Scarlett to really verify what it is that Neeb is up to.
That's right. Here we see that adept from Neeb now coming out across the map here. I'm interested to see, do you think there's a chance that Neeb goes for DTs again here?
Yeah, I mean,
so?
there's a chance, but I don't think he will. I think that's like a once in a best of 5 type of move.
That's what I was thinking.
I prefer to just see him go for Glaives and see this awesome harassment that everyone talks about with Neeb.
Well, we're going to find out. We do see the Glaives coming here and some more gates, so it does look like it's going to be a bit of pressure coming here from Neeb. And that Robo, I think, will confirm that this is not going to be DTs, at least not at this point in time in the game.
Yeah, certainly. That's going to be for the Warp Prism, a bunch of gateways being added. So Neeb is going to go ham with those Adepts. Will Scarlett be able to hold on against him? So far, she hasn't really taken damage from Adepts, so this might be her best chance yet to take a game.
Oh, Adept actually does get away. That's unfortunate. That would have been a feather in the cap of Scarlett there to just at least get rid of that one Adept. At least start to get the wheels spinning here towards victory. But again, good play there. And of course, when the Adepts are in large groups like that, that actually does matter quite a bit. Even if there's one red Adept in the back, they're still doing a lot of damage.
Absolutely. They add a lot of damage output. So with those Glaives finishing up, and the gateways as well, Neeb is getting ready to move out here. I mean, this is tough for Scarlett, though. She is starting some Roaches. She has a decent number of Lings. A third base coming up now for Neeb. I don't think that she really knows exactly how many gates there are, though.
Well, that's the big issue here. Now, we see the Warp Prism coming, and generally at high levels of play, that means we're immediately going to see some kind of an attack here. And I think in this case, it may very well be some pretty full-on aggression and not necessarily harass, but we'll see. Hashtag Neeb knows. We'll see what actually he decides. He knows best. But
well, a lot of Roaches coming out right now, so hashtag
right.
Scarlett knows.
That's right. Well, we're gonna find out who knows better in just a second here. The Adepts are going to shade in here, and they are not going to go ahead and finish up with that. But seeing those Roaches, that may force Neeb to respect Scarlett and back up here.
This is a lot of Adepts, and the Overlord is kind of peeking in. Okay, here comes the Prism. Doesn't see the Prism quite yet. Roach is coming down to try to punish a little bit. A lot of damage actually put out immediately, but that is a ton of Adept shading past.
Scarlett now trying to head up and catch up to these Adepts. They do shade in over here. They can actually get a pretty good angle over here against the Roaches. We see the Warp Prism now moving over here. The Warp Prism needs to stay out of range of the Queens.
Those Adepts trying to shade out of here as those Roaches flank them, and in fact they will shade into the main base, going after those drones right now, definitely dealing a lot of damage, but the Prism gets picked off. A great move by Scarlett.
Now it's going to be up to Neeb to do as much damage as humanly possible. 23 drones already picked off. It may be the point still of some no return. 36 workers now gone here, and the Adepts are still coming.
Neeb is eating through these drones quicker than a box of Timbits right now. This is madness, and Scarlett has no economy left.
We see the Adepts continuing to come through here, and they're shading around. Now, I think eventually Scarlett will be able to clean this up, but the question is, has too much damage actually been done?
Oh, man, it's a good question, Tasteless. 46 drones feels to me like, yes, absolutely too much damage, but if you look at the actual drone count, Scarlett has kept 24 drones alive.
Which is impressive.
She does have 3 hatches.
How devastating that attack was. Neeb is not done yet. In fact, I believe I saw he remade a Warp Prism. Was I correct on that? Yeah, okay, that was it. So he did remake a Warp Prism. So he's actually just going to go.
Come from?
He's just going to continue to push forward here and try to do a killing blow right now. The big question is, can Scarlett hang on?
Oh, she does have a good amount of Roaches. She's getting that Roach speed as well, but look at that. We have like 8 more Adepts being warped in. This amount of Adepts is frightening indeed.
And you know, this actually might be the wisest strategy to do after 2 devastating wins, is to do a strategy like this, albeit more basic, still very strong.
Oh, cancels that shade, goes towards the third. Should be able to kill off this hatchery. More and more Adepts coming in.
And I think it's pretty clear the hatchery is going to go down, and then from here, Neeb is going to shade on top of this army of Roaches, or perhaps not. Maybe just try to push in directly here and try to get an attack like that.
Oh man, that is a lot of shades right now going up that ramp. Right now we have Neeb coming in for the engagement. Shades on top of the ramp, getting those Roaches into a big concave, and Scarlett is in trouble.
More Adepts are warping in. I don't believe Scarlett can hang on. The Warp Prism is still alive and now being relocated, even microing the weaker Adepts in and out of it. The Roaches number is getting too small here as Neeb continues to just destroy the army of Scarlett. GG!
Whoa! Neeb taking out Scarlett, a good friend of his, 3-0, and making it to that round of 4. Just fantastic play out of Neeb.
I gotta say, man, Neeb was sort of a jack of all trades with Protoss in that series. That last game especially was brutal, but you know what? That's kind of a great strategy to go for when you won the first 2 games in a fashion like that. Do this basic solid rush. And by the way, Neeb, if you notice, never made a mistake with the shading.
Oh no, he's very adept at shading.
Yeah. he's actually quite perfect at that. He knows how much damage to do, he knows what to attack, and then he knows where to shade. He's oftentimes shading to form a convex versus the Roach concave, which of course Roaches never want to have, especially if Neeb's in control of them. So, I mean, really impressive stuff.
Yeah, this kid has a bright future indeed in StarCraft 2, and maybe it starts this weekend with a win here. And I mean, with that, he's gained a ton of WCS points so far. I feel like he's just about locked for BlizzCon, Tasteless. It's been a while since we've had an American there.
By the way, we never see attacks that are just so perfectly configured. I'm not talking necessarily about that last game, but about the first 2. He just sets up right. This guy has the best Warp Prism positioning. He also knows, you know, a lot of Protosses, they just leave it in warp mode and just try to use that as a stationary pilot. No, this guy is moving it around. He knows when it's time to not warp in, instead keep it mobile, use that to juggle the Adepts or whatever other units it may be. It's really something that's quite impressive.
Yeah, I am so completely impressed with all of his PvZ here tonight. Really kind of pulling out all the stops there against Scarlett, giving her the respect that she deserves as a player, and using his absolute best strategies.
Yeah. Really scary stuff here coming from Neeb. And as you can see, it's the rotation of the Adepts moving around. There they are once again, now intercepting drones, knowing that the drones were going to be moving from that location to another one, then shading elsewhere. The sheer damage given in the first attack allows the second attack in the game where the next Warp Prism's there to be completely crushing.
Yeah, I don't know. I felt like she was guarding against Adepts very well, especially at the beginning there.
It's not
she wasn't
like
really
she did
losing
a bad
drones.
job. It's Neeb did a really good job.
Yeah, it feels like Neeb is kind of like completely figured out how to harass with Adepts.
Yeah.
If there was someone that was going to write a book on how to harass with Adepts, it would probably be Neeb. It probably wouldn't be a book that would be like a pamphlet, you know, like you don't need a whole book on harassing with Adepts, but I mean, it's some pretty solid stuff.
Very impressive by Neeb. Smix, how is Neeb doing?
Well, he's smiling here, laughing at the jokes that you guys are making. Neeb, congratulations. Moving on to the semifinal here with a very, very convincing 3-0 here. And I just want to take a step back and talk about the journey you had to get to the top 4 here, because you had to play all 3 races to get here. You started with, in the round of 32, a 3-0 over Pili, a Protoss player. And then you had to play Youth Thermal, a recent IM Shanghai champion, and you defeated a Terran player, him, 3-1. And then here against a Zerg player in Scarlett, another 3-0 here. So just an all-around very, very impressive performance here.
Thank you. Yeah, it's kind of difficult to prepare for all 3 matches. Like, I normally just prepare for my first match and, like, just take it 1 match at a time. So I really only practice PvP going into this tournament. But I think I'm pretty confident in every matchup right now.
Well, apparently, because you're defeating every race you run into. But coming into this match, I'm just curious, before we get into the details of that series with Tide, I'm just wondering, because you mentioned before the match that you and Scarlett do know each other's playstyles very well, as you do practice often. So with that in mind, were there any sort of mind games involved, or did you just think about the weaknesses that you personally feel like you are aware of with Scarlett?
Yeah, I just did stuff like make her think I was going to do something, and then I did something completely different. Like in the 3rd game, I took a 3rd base and then just canceled it and made a bunch more Adepts. Like stuff like that.
Just to evolve on that, actually, I want to go, from map to map, and can you take us through, your build order selection and kind of what you were expecting from Scarlett, starting with the first map, King Sejong Station?
Sejong, I was just gonna double pylon block, and it went pretty well, I think. I forgot my cybernetics core though, so it was like 15 seconds delayed. I was gonna actually put a cybernetics core at his natural, so then my adept could get there and like delay it longer. And then I was just gonna do some kind of blink all in after adept, which is what happened, and it went pretty well.
And then Frozen Temple, like you went for this beautiful, perfect timing before there were going to be a lot of units, pulled back just on time. I was so impressed with that already, and I was like, well, it's Neeb, he's probably going to do a follow-up timing. Then you get blink, you move across the map, and there's just too much. And like, how do you do this? Like on the fly, it seems like you always know exactly what to do, when to do it, and to be able to pull back on time. We were talking a little bit with Sue backstage too. Like, there's been so many players in this tournament who have overextended, stayed too long. So that was very impressive. So
Yeah,
what do you think about this?
That's
this
the
year?
classic build. Scarlett actually showed me that build, so she helped me beat her.
Oi.
Yeah, it's like really strong getting the early 3rd base, because Zerg can't really cancel it or kill it at all if they do some kind of all-in. Like, you're blind countering it, really going 5 gateways in a robo. So like, I just like making the 1 immortal and then pushing out. Normally I don't lose the mothership core, but like normally they scout it earlier too, so they have more units besides queens.
Did you treat Scarlett as almost any other opponent, or did you really use, the knowledge that you have of how she thinks about you and how she plays? Like in that last game, you mentioned canceling your Nexus and going for the Adepts. Is this something specific to Scarlett that you wanted to do against her?
Yeah, I just played in general against Scarlett rather than versus Zerg.
All right. You're going to go back to playing against Terran, though, in Polt tomorrow in the semifinals. It's been the matchup that you've had a little bit of trouble with, lose to Marine Lord and Youth Thermal. Now you finally got the revenge against Youth Thermal. Since Polt played against Drogo earlier and had a very close series, how do you think you're going to match up against him tomorrow?
I actually feel very confident in PvT, even though I don't show it in tournaments. Like, it's hard to play PvT in tournaments, but in practice I think I do very well. It's probably my best matchup, so like I'm confident, but again, like I don't know how it's going to play out because it's pretty tough to play in tournaments.
Have you learned anything from the games that Polt played against Drogo earlier?
I didn't watch them. I'll probably watch them later tonight or tomorrow morning.
And I'm wondering if your personal experience with Polt will play in at all, because I mentioned it to Polt earlier when I interviewed him, that when I was looking at your match history against each other, you guys have played only online thus far. This year, 4 times, and you actually won 3 out of the 4 times. And obviously, offline setting is always very, very different. But I'm wondering if your experiences of defeating him, at least in that setting, is going to give you any bit of confidence headed into your match tomorrow.
Yeah, I've had trouble against Polt's style in the past. Like, he does this fast Liberator stuff, and like I don't really know exactly how to defend it, but I have some ideas that I'll have to try out in the next games.
All right, well, we'll be looking forward to it. Congratulations again on making it to the top 4. And with that, our day 2 of the WCS Summer Championship will come to a close as we have our 2 semifinal matches for tomorrow's set. It will be Hero Marine versus True, as well as Polt versus Neeb. Apollo, let's head back to you guys to wrap up the day.
Thank you, Smix. You've been doing excellent out there, and congratulations to Neeb. Finds himself in the semi-finals. Back on the desk here with Rossi and Tastosis. A one-sided series. Sad to say, I suppose, for a lot of other people out there, or almost everyone out there who wanted to see potentially a 5-map series and potentially wanted to see Scott go through, but Neeb showed his dominance, especially in that matchup once again, Tasteless.
You know, it's always sad when 2 friends eliminate each other, right? You want to see, in a perfect world, they'd be on opposite brackets, right? But the fact that they've both been training hard, they got this far, I guess only one of them could move on. But, dude, Neeb looks pretty scary, man. What if, instead of saying GG at the end of this finals, I'm going Neeb. Oh. Because he's changed Protoss forever.
Wow.
Tasteless.
I'm done.
A true Neeb
Someone
fan.
else talk, please.
We'll see you later, Tasteless. No, he is downright frightening, and we've known this for a while. Like, we know how strong he is, and people keep talking about it, but he's coming more and more into his own. When we see series like that where it's like, how do you stop that? Who's going to stop that? Was Nurchio going to stop that? I don't know if Nurchio is going to stop that.
What do you think?
I mean, PvZ is ridiculous. I mean, I almost feel silly now for doubting him in the beginning. Like, the only series I've seen him lose PvZ this year is, I mean, obviously the final against Hydra and Austin. He dropped that very close series against Nurchio in Tours back then, but that was a series that he could have potentially won. And then he lost online against Bly, you know, with the proxy hatchery shenanigans. But if he's playing normal, like, he just has an excellent read, an excellent understanding of PvZ. And even his PvT, like he said, he's like, I'm actually not bad in PvT, guys. You know, I just had 2 bad series. Sometimes it's not going your way, but I'm pretty good in that matchup. And obviously, I mean, he defeated Showtime 3-0 in the Extreme Masters Shanghai, so he's good in PvP too. Like, I don't know, out of all the players so far in this tournament, I think the only one that has maybe a legitimate shot to stop him is maybe True. I mean, True hasn't dropped the map yet, so obviously he's pretty damn good at StarCraft too.
I'm very excited for the Polt series tomorrow with him. That's sure to be a treat. But let's take a look at the bracket so you guys can see at home. The top 4 of the WCS Circuit Summer Championship. Of all people, Hero Marine is in the top 4 with True be the first semi-final tomorrow, and then we'll be going over to Polt versus Neeb to find out who is going to be number 1 in this tournament. Here is the times for tomorrow. We'll be starting the first match at 12:30 local time, and then at 2 o'clock before the grand finals at 15:45. Do remember as well that we will be doing the David Kim special thingy-majiggy for you guys at home at 12 o'clock with our toasters and some others. It's going to be a lot of fun. And guys, how are you doing? Thinking we've had a pretty good day so far?
Yeah,
a good tournament?
I definitely enjoyed today. I mean, the last series is often what you remember the most, at least like the last one you cast, you know, and I casted Polt versus our dear friend Drogo. I mean, it was an awesome series, really enjoyed it from beginning to the end. But throughout the entire day, I think, even in the beginning when we still had 2 streams, you know, he tried to catch as much of both streams as possible. It was very enjoyable. I'm happy. And I'm surprised by the top 4, I'm not going to lie. These were not the 4 names that I would have filled in at the beginning of the tournament, Sean.
What do you think, Tasteless? We're almost ready to finish the night.
Neeb.
All right, thank you, Tasteless.
Yeah, no, I mean, Tasteless said it very well, but, you know, I feel like there hasn't been enough attention on Hero Marine. Just because he is the real surprise coming here. Like, people could fill out brackets all day, and you might get the other 3 players there, but Hero Marine is kind of a big upset, and he didn't have an easy road. So excited to see him play tomorrow and see what he can do against True. But, I mean, I feel like we're going to be watching Neeb versus True there tomorrow. I don't know, in the finals, right? Like, their play today
I think so,
has
yeah.
been crazy.
I do think that Hero Marine beat through it the last time they played at Home Story Cup, so that's something to hold on to. But I do agree with Toast's phenomenal run, especially round of 32, round of 16. Nobody expected Hero Marine to beat both Showtime and Marine Lord. Like, that's madness.
Yeah, it's been a crazy day. Thank you very much, gentlemen. We'll be looking forward to joining you guys tomorrow for the final day of the WCS Circuit Summer Championship. One last thing though before we go, do remember that G2A are running a €2,000 contest. Well, you can grab prizes around that €2,000. Just go to DreamHack or G2A.com/DHOpen. There it is. Thank you. I hope you've had a great day here. We're joining you for day 3 tomorrow.